Hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. Alex Donno alongside, as always, Jerry Mancini, and welcoming in a special guest of ours. We booked him just so he could gloat about the latest Milan derby, where he, of course, supports Milan. Good friend of ours, Miguel Agyei, who's working with the Chicago Fire. So he's big time here stateside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's big time in North America. He's big time in Europe as well. Miguel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me again.
Listen, I've been better despite two straight L's for my Nerazzurri. You know, a hard fought. I mean, a good start and a good finish. The middle part was not so good in the derby that Inter dropped 3-2 to Milan. And then, obviously, I didn't have very high expectations going into a match against Bayern. But it leads me to, and guys, I think we'll start here, and we'll talk some about Inter in this episode. We'll talk some about Milan. We'll talk some about Lazio, because Lazio had a spectacular offensive performance today against Feyenoord in Europa League. And Jerry, I am now good luck because I bet Lazio minus 105 on the money line, and I expect
not bad value. That's good value.
Not bad at all. I thought I was still a mush, but I think I gave Lazio good luck. I mean, they were up 3-0 within like a half an hour, so I may have to start betting on Inter again. I think my mush powers may be over.
Should have had 10 goals today. I don't know how we didn't have that was like the most dominant 60 minutes I saw from Lazio, and it was a good performance. I think it just shows that they're in a weak group, and I think that they need to take advantage of finally getting in a better group stage compared to recent seasons. Last year they finished second. It was a difficult group they were in with. They had Marseille, and I forgot who else we had in that group. I think we have
Galatasaray.
Galatasaray.
Yeah. We kept having Soccer Bob on from Turkey to talk about that.
So coming first would be so big because you get into the round of 16. And then you get a favorable matchup because you're not going to face one of the teams that come down from the Champions League. So it's a strong start. It's still far from done. I think that the biggest thing I'll take from this game is not just the start. It's being up 4-0 in the last half hour. They became too incomplacent, too relaxed, and they gave up 2 goals. The first one should never have counted. I don't know how VAR didn't get involved. Vecino never touches Jimenez. There's no foul on the play. You clearly see that there's no touch. VAR fails again. I'll leave it at that.
But VAR did succeed though, because they almost got another penalty that could have made it 4-3, and VAR worked that time because the penalty was given and then they overruled it.
So it's funny, that one didn't look clear and obvious at first.
Right. And I thought they were going to allow it. So maybe that was a makeup call from before.
I hate these makeup calls. Just get it right and that's it. Like it's just terrible. I thought Alberto and Vecino were probably Lazio's. Oh, you know what? Zaccagni was amazing too. I think no one's talking about Zaccagni and how good he was with his runs. I thought that I noticed that he played very deep in the midfield, and that was really good. I found him more further back, and I think that we forget that he's not. I don't think he's a natural winger. He's actually a midfielder.
Yeah,
and that's his natural position. And I kind of noticed him drift into the midfield position a lot and play more down the wings, more deeper, in supporting the runs to advance in between like the lines. So I thought that was intriguing as well. But and Miguel's boy Romagnoli was. This guy he's been rejuvenated. Okay.
Dude, what is it, Jerry, about Sarri this year? Because I'm watching Matthias Vecino like it's 2018, scoring 2 goals today, and I'm watching Romagnoli have a really good season. Like, what is going on?
I think it's just 2 players who want to play under Sarri, needed a change, and then just a new breath of fresh air for Romagnoli. I think that it's not just a change from Milan. I think Milan will always be to his heart for what he's been able to accomplish there. And I think it's just that he just wanted to go to Lazio. I think when you grow up as a fan and you want to be with a team, it kind of pushes you another level to be even better. It's like an incentive, you know what I mean? It's like going to work and you're working for a company you love and you want to be there. So I think that he lost that mojo with Milan. It got to the point where he just wanted to finally play for a team that he's always liked, right? And I think this was his last chance, because if he waited any longer, when's he going to do it? When he's 32? So
Right.
I think I was sorry. It needed time. And I like the fact that they keep on asking, like, why isn't he making 5 or 6 changes? Because the way he wants to play, he doesn't want to do an overhaul every game, because then there's no continuity and consistency in his beliefs and his style of play. So the players need to play together in order to kind of adapt. So I think that the way he's been running the team is fine by me. I don't oppose sometimes. Like I'll say why doesn't a certain player play, but we don't see what goes on in training either. So that's another thing.
Yeah. Well, what were your Miguel? What were your big takeaways? Because it sounded like you caught some of the Lazio Feyenoord match today, which they ended up winning 4-2. By the way, for those wondering.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good game. Seeing that they scored, I believe, 3 goals in 30 minutes was just insane. Like you guys mentioned, I think Zaccagni and Vecino, they both look really amazing. It was a bit weird to not see Ciro Immobile get on the score sheet, but I think that Sarri's his system has been implemented here, and Lazio can really do some damage here in the Europa League and also in Serie A, because they've kind of been the laughing stock of Serie A for the last 2 seasons. You know, they play against the big teams and they always fumble the bag and they lose. And I think that this season, after beating, Inter with that huge defeat, I think it's a warning to, everyone else in the Serie A that, hey, Lazio is actually growing. Like, their system is coming into fruition with Sarri. And credits to the players and credits to Sarri, because a year ago it wasn't like this. Lazio was struggling heavily last season, and now everything's finally coming into play. So it just goes to show you how in football sometimes you just need patience.
Yeah,
I want to say,
well said.
I think the most important thing is that I wouldn't be concerned about Immobile not scoring, because
He nearly scored a hat trick. He nearly scored so many times.
he can score. He can wake up at any time. I think it's more
Oh,
important
yeah.
that the additional scoring's happening. I think that's what Lazio's never had, right? So having an
Yeah.
Alberto score today again, having a Vecino all of a sudden score a brace, you know what I mean? Like you want people you don't expect to score. Felipe Anderson's been incredible. I don't know how fans are ripping on this guy so consistently. Like, it's bad, because I think he's been one of our best players to start the year. And in this game, I thought that the one thing Immobile did really well was his runs, getting into space and making excellent passes. I thought that his passing he was getting through the channels and getting into areas to allow his teammates to kind of to have chances, you know what I mean? And I think what he does so good is he draws players towards him, and it opens those gaps up where it leaves a player open for how strong he is, right? And how people know of a threat he is. So I thought that he did that a lot of times today, and thought his play off the ball was really good.
Let's talk a little bit about my main takeaway from Inter Bayern. And again, I really wasn't expecting a positive result out of that match. I have so much respect for Bayern. And then on the flip side, yeah, I've been pretty frustrated the last couple of weeks with Inter for obvious reasons. And I kind of wonder if maybe the pressure of being Inter manager is getting to Simone Inzaghi a little bit, but he finally, and I can only give him so much credit for this because it took him way too long to do it, guys. He finally turned to Andre Onana and gave him an opportunity to start in net. I think that Inzaghi knew coming out of a Milan defeat where he got things wrong with the way he managed that game. I think he knew he was going to have to shake some things up with the 11. And he finally gave Onana an opportunity because he'd been afraid to do it to this point. And he was fantastic. I mean, the 2 goals given up were not the fault of the keeper. He made 10 saves. In fact, Jerry, I thought if not for Onana, Inter would have lost the match potentially 4 or 5-0 instead of 2-0. I thought that he was that instrumental, and it wasn't only he can make the sort of athletic reflex saves that Handanovic is just no longer capable of making, right? I mean, Onana made some saves where Handanovic probably wouldn't have moved off his line. And I thought his distribution was fine as well. And that's something maybe you could worry about, that, he hasn't played, really consistent in a long time, because he was coming off the doping last year and didn't play a whole lot for Ajax and hadn't played yet for Inter. So maybe, is he going to be rusty with the ball at his feet? I thought the distribution was fine. He can make the sort of saves Handanovic can no longer make, hasn't been able to make for really 3 or 4 years in the case of Samir. And I think from this point moving forward, I mean, Jerry, Inzaghi better than most anyone. He's got to stick with Onana now, right? I mean, if he turns right back to Handanovic, I think it's a sackable offense.
I didn't watch the game. I chose Napoli instead. And
that was a good showcase for Serie A. If I wasn't an Interista, I probably would have been on the Napoli match as well, because they were flying.
I won't get into that game because we're talking Inter right now. I don't want to get sidetracked. As for Inter, I'll give you my thoughts on Inzaghi. And I know what people are going to say. Italian coaches, their old school mentality, they don't like to play these young guys. I'm going to tell you, I don't care about other managers. I look at Inzaghi. I look at how Inzaghi coaches. I don't care that A, B, and C are just the same. I don't look at it like that. I'm going to tell you what I see from Inzaghi from 5 years with Lazio. He started off playing young players. I guess the pressure wasn't on him. He allowed younger players to adapt. He played a Murgia in a late match, in late minutes versus Juventus of the Supercoppa, where he made that goal he scored. And then as the seasons progressed, he just became so dependent on the same players, where it was always Milinkovic-Savic, always Alberto, always Immobile. He would choose Parolo, for God's sake, over center backs he had on the bench. Like, it just got to that point where the guy doesn't have a plan B. It's scary because his in-game tactics are not always the best. Look what he did to Strakosha, okay? He had COVID. I think he had COVID. He was out for a while, and then when he came back to the lineup, he was fresh. He stuck to Peperena and kept on going with Peperena. And it took Sarri coming back into the squad, and it took a while before he realized that Peperena no longer was the goalkeeper for this team. And then Strakosha came in, and you know what? Respect to Strakosha, staying committed, even when he made the mistake in the Europa League. Sarri stood with him. He supported him. He had a good season, and from there they mutually just parted. Inzaghi ruined a good relationship goalkeeper with Lazio. I would have been okay if Strakosha stayed. I'm happy that we signed Provedel, because I probably think that Provedel is probably a bit better than Strakosha, but it's still early to tell if he can continue at this high level. But regardless, just with Inzaghi, like, he's just goes with the same guys game after game after game. And like, I love Inzaghi. I think he has the right mind. He's very effective with the 3-5-2. I also think that he made the jump too quick. I think that Inter came at him. He didn't want to turn down a big contract. Maybe he thought that he wouldn't get another opportunity like this maybe down the road. I don't know. I think that he needed more seasoning at Lazio. I don't think he was ready. I don't think he was ready. No, man. What has he ever achieved though? He's won a Coppa Italia and 2 Supercoppa Italianas. I don't think he's never taken Lazio to the top, man. Like, you know what I mean? He's never. I don't know, man. I think he's never played in pressure either. That's another thing. Like, this is pressure. He's never played in pressure in Lazio.
I agree, and I think he's feeling the pressure. But to me, like, I think he was ready. I think part of the reason why he's struggling is it's not all his fault, because the mercatos keep just progressively getting worse and worse and worse because of finances. Like I and then I think that adds more pressure on his shoulders. So I don't know, because had it not been Inter, his next step would have been a big club, Jerry. I mean, I think that
he stays.
You don't think so?
He stays at Lazio for 2-3 more years. He was going to stay. If Inter didn't poach him, he stays at Lazio. The contract was there for 3 more years. He was ready to continue with Lazio. The 3-5-2 continues. He continues the starting 11. But then again, I don't think that Lazio spends as much, though, if he stays. I don't think these players come in. I don't think the overhaul happens. The difference between Sarri and Inzaghi is I saw this through a tweet or a pod or something. I saw this on Twitter maybe. He sticks to his principles. That's the difference. That's what makes Sarri a very bold manager, is that he sticks to what he believes in. He doesn't go away from it, and he speaks his mind and says, "This is what I need. This is what I want." He gives Lotito the idea, and he understands what has to be done. And I think that Lotito respects that, because he has a guy who says, "Okay, this is plan. This is how it's going to end. This is what I need. Here's a clear objective." So, and then all of a sudden, Lotito's like, "Oh, okay." You know how many players that Inzaghi wanted and they've never worked at Lazio? Mohamed Fares. There's a prime example. Like, he wanted this guy. What has he done at Lazio? Like, Inzaghi's preference of players, I don't think they've always been like great, and you're seeing that with Inter right now. I think he's very good at preparing the game. I think it's very true what Serie A podcast is saying here, but his in-game tactics is always up and down. Either he gets it right and looks like a genius, or gets it wrong, and he's getting it wrong right now. Onana should start this weekend. Again, if we don't see what goes on in training, maybe there's something that he does. He's hesitant not to start him every game yet. I don't understand. I don't know.
That. I think the bigger factor is, I think it was really, really, really hard to bench Handanovic because he's the captain. So I think it's more politics, because Handanovic has been there so much longer than Inzaghi. He's wearing the armband. I think it was difficult for him to bench him.
Stupid. No player is bigger than the team. I'm sorry. You know what? We're talking about, what about Miguel? Miguel's the outsider here, man. Miguel, what do you see from Inzaghi, man? Like, what do you see that, like, do you see something different compared to what I see, like, or Alex?
No, I definitely agree. I think Inzaghi does well to prepare for games, and he studies his opponents very well, and he knows how to break them down. But as you said, once changes are made, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to adapt to the situation, and that's how he loses a lot of the games. You look at the Milan derby, Inter go up 1-0, we tie at 1-1 halftime. You would expect that Inzaghi would make some changes right then and there. He didn't make any changes. We made some changes, and then we go up 3-1, and they're scrambling to try to catch up with the game. And then 3-2, and you lose the game because you didn't make any changes to your system during halftime when you saw that people were being exposed X, Y, and Z. I think that Inzaghi is a good manager, but he hasn't reached that point and as a manager where he's, past the learning curve, where he's like, okay, I did X, Y, and Z. This went well. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to learn from this and change this. So I definitely agree with you guys on what you're saying about Inzaghi.
I'm not going to criticize Bastoni. He's 23 years old. He's very young defender.
This dude, he's drinking the Haterade today. This Serie A podcast for the fans.
I don't agree with that, man.
I'm a big push my buttons today.
I'm a big Bastoni fan.
I love it. By the way, I love banter. I kid. It takes a lot to offend me.
I don't know. I like Bastoni. I think that you have good years. You always have. There's always a year where you always kind of regress and then you go back up. It happens to all players. But you know what? Inter's defense used to be the best. It's no longer the best. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. I agree. I wholeheartedly
Milan now.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. Kalulu.
Milan now for sure.
Kalulu's really good signing. Love Tomori. It's too bad that Chelsea gave up on him. Very big mistake. You got Simone
Theo Hernandez.
I hate him. I can't.
Well, hold on one second, because I want to move on to Milan. Hold on. I want to move on to Milan, but before we do, I want to get Miguel's take on Onana, and if because he's got to be the number one keeper from now on, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you love Handanovic, you love what he's done for the team, you love that he's captain. But at some point, when the results aren't going the way that you need to, and we're working in a results-based system, you have to make that call and you have to start Onana. It's the same thing that happened to Romagnoli. Romagnoli was captain and he was great, and then he deteriorated, and it was like, we're not winning. We have to make a change. And that's what Pioli did. So I think that Inzaghi needs to do the same thing and just start Onana from here on out. You can give Handanovic, Coppa Italia games or games against lower table sides where you think that he can do the job. But from now on, you gotta start Onana, because you guys are gonna end up playing catch up at the second half of the season because Inzaghi wants to be stubborn and start the captain.
Yeah. Was Dumfries that bad yesterday?
I didn't think he was that bad.
Everyone's chirping this guy.
I mean, I thought he's been. I mean, nobody was really that great yesterday outside of Onana. I mean, I thought Mkhitaryan actually did pretty well in the midfield. Lautaro
did Barella play?
Had at least one goal.
Barella play yesterday?
I don't think so. If so, he came on very late when I had already turned out the game out of frustration. No, I think Inzaghi was just switching it up. Let me see if he came, because I got very frustrated later on and I turned the game off. So I don't know if he came
you're one of those guys, man. I suffered the whole game watching Lazio get beat down versus Bayern Munich. Okay,
life's too short, man.
Nah, man.
You want to punish yourself? That's on you.
Nah, you gotta stick with your team. You die. You enjoy the moments when they're great, and you die with them when it's bad.
I stuck with them during the derby.
That's okay.
I didn't have as much to do.
I had to watch Patrick do a somersault in the middle of the field.
Oh my god!
I had to watch Matteo. I had to watch Musacchio make the worst pass of his life that ended his career basically, and put him into orbit. Credit to Uncle Sharma having to send me clips today or yesterday where we kind of had a debate. He showed me what was worse, but because I told him about the own goal, about Cherby, and he showed me the clips of Patrick and Musaki. I was like, yeah, okay, you win. But it's I don't know, man. Bayern Munich is it's a hard game to gauge. Bayern's so good.
Like I went into that match thinking it would take a minor miracle to get a draw. Like that's the way that I went into that match. Like if Inter can get a point, I'll say some prayers. I'll be like really thankful. So I wasn't expecting to get anything out of it.
Would you prefer your team to go down to the Europa League and finish third, or would you prefer finishing second and getting some hard team in the second round and knowing that you'll probably exit it again?
Honestly,
what would you
would rather. I mean, I want to get through. They're not going to take first. So it's between Inter and Barcelona to take second. So I'd rather get through. I think I'd rather go fourth place than go down to Europa League.
Yeah, you can focus on
recent history shows you whoever gets knocked out of European spots first wins the Scudetto. So if I can either get third place or lose in the Europa League, or fourth place and focus on Serie A, then that may be the better way to go.
No, that's true. And how was Milan, Miguel?
Yes. Because that was one of the matches I couldn't watch. I saw a 1-1 draw. I saw Salad Makers scored, but how did the game go?
It was a bit of an interesting game. I think Milan was surprised by Salzburg because Salzburg plays fast tempo football, and the first 15 minutes was really difficult for us. I think Salzburg just came out and they were ready to attack. I think they had 2 shots within the first minute. But yeah, it was a bit difficult, but then we finally settled into the game. Poor Pierre Kalulu got flipped on his ass, and Salzburg scores, but we bounced back from that. We showed some fight. Maker getting a goal in the Champions League, like who would have thought? But the players just we had so many opportunities towards the later half of the game to score and get the win, but it just wasn't enough. And I think that Pioli needs to give some of the players a bit more playing time. Players like Origi came on in the second half, and you could tell that Origi got into the right places, but the chemistry with the team is kind of off because he hasn't played as much as the other players. So I think it's just one of those things that it's a learning curve for Pioli, and happy to get a point. Chelsea lost to Dinamo Zagreb, so that's good for us. But I think in the next game we have to do more, and it's also difficult because you're trying to rotate a squad where there's not too much depth because you don't start Leao, you don't start Tonali and Benacer. Who are you starting? You don't have world class players like other teams do where they can rotate. Like Barella didn't play against Bayern. That's okay because they have the quality to rotate that. We don't have that, so it's a matter of just learning how we're gonna keep this squad going throughout the rest of the group stages. But I'm not too worried. I still think we can make it out the group. So it was a decent draw for us. I think we should have won, but it is what it is.
And Jerry, he mentioned Chelsea's result, and Thomas Tuchel is he's collecting unemployment for right now. I'm sure he's going to land on his feet very quickly. But was that the right move? Because half my Twitter timeline seemed to be Chelsea fans, and everybody has an opinion, and a lot of people seem very shocked by that move. Were you shocked by it?
No, not at all. Those who know me, I don't advertise Chelsea that much on Twitter. I normally talk Lazio. I'll talk about Chelsea here and there. I just know that I have a more stronger Serie A following, and like people like Chelsea fans follow me for Sarri a lot and supporting, which is nice. But like I do have a strong like for Chelsea for the last 5-6 seasons, and I'd say watching all their games this season, I just missed the Southampton one, which I actually recorded and haven't watched yet. But hearing from podcasts, it was time that he had to go. And this was a decision I heard through like The Athletic, where it was already made in the summer. Like when ownership came in, they had already an idea. They were already prepared to fire him. And that I think even knowing, I think they gave him this ample time to see how it was going to work out with Tuchel. And I think that as each game progressed, it didn't, as it went by the season early, it just didn't improve. Every game, it just got worse and worse. I think their best performance was against Tottenham. And that was for 60 minutes. And then the last 30 minutes, they kind of like didn't look as strong. They were terrible against Leeds, where they lost 3-0. They were terrible against West Ham on Saturday, and were so lucky to get 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. They were both fluky goals, both by forgot his name now, but the left back who came on. I apologize, but and he made a miraculous move down the wing. He made a cross, and then you see Havertz scores, and the ball is just placed perfectly. I watched the game on Tuesday. I was able to watch the replay of the Champions League match, and it was disgusting that they just looked so disinterested. And every time they got into the final third, they were just clueless, not knowing what to do with the ball. You see Kovacic so many times trying to make something happen. And I respect his effort, but just the team just weren't linking. Ziyech looked terrible. I have to say Milan dodged a bullet, because this is a guy, I don't think he would have helped Milan at all. He's just lost
over
for confidence.
Salad Maker.
If you go watch. I'm telling you, go watch the game.
I watched the game.
Was bad.
It was terrible.
Terrible.
But he doesn't even want to be there. He doesn't even.
You think
want to
that's
be
what
there.
it is? I don't know, man. Because he can't crack the front. He can't crack it. Maybe Potter coming in helps him, kind of help him get rejuvenated. It's bad, man. It's not even just not wanting to be there. It's just the way he plays too, though. He just looks lost and forcing shots and wailing it over the net in the crowd. Look at the free kicks he took, like nowhere.
Yeah, those were really bad.
Really
But
bad,
then
man.
again,
His
you look at
quality.
last season where he had certain spells where he looked world class.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like maybe Milan does change him. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Hey, Salamaker scored in the Champions League, so he's the only guy who has a goal for Milan right now. But as for Tuchel, it's not just a results driven business. The other thing is that it's a new ownership, and I see fans having to say that Tuchel did this for Chelsea, and the fact that he would take the team bus and they didn't have the flights, and he stood by them. And people have to remember he did that for the Abramovich era. Now you got Bowley coming in, and this is a new guy. It's like North American sports. If a new general
I want to play
manager,
devil's advocate when you're done, though.
when a new general manager comes into the league, okay, into your team, he always wants his guy. He wants to so I know I'm going off topic. The Chicago Blackhawks. General manager comes in. He's traded every single player because because they're not his players. He wants his imprint on the team. He wants to say that
Sarri wanted his imprint at Lazio.
Yeah, like there's certain people who just want his team. This is my team. The only way Sarri keeps a player is if it works to his idea.
System.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's how I see it with Chelsea. It does suck. You do look on the other side and say, hey, but what about the fact that he won a Champions League, that he won this, he won that, and the fact that he was able to be successful. I think that all comes, but like I think he also lost the dressing room. I don't think the players wanted to be there with him anymore. Like apparently another thing I was listening on the Athletic is that they didn't really consult with anybody. This was a decision that wasn't even done between the board. Like this is all insight between like player conversations in the dressing room, having one-on-one discussions, and the consensus feeling was that it just wasn't a strong like for him anymore. And another thing I heard, which was this is really good. You should watch his emotion during the Champions League game where he shows no emotion. He's on the bench. He just sitting down, not getting up, not getting riled up, not really talking. Yeah, like it looked like it was a guy who was defeated. If you really watched that last game, like he looked out of words. So I'd like to hear what Miguel has to say on the counter.
So for me, playing devil's advocate here is okay. Todd Bowley comes in. He loses Marina. He loses Peter Cech. Okay, those are two big influential parts to Chelsea Football Club as a whole and the success that they've had within the past decade. Okay, then you have Thomas Tuchel, who's already the coach. Thomas Tuchel asks, okay, I want these specific players. They fail to get the specific players that he wants, and then they're scrambling on the market to just get anyone to add depth into their team. Okay, that happens, and to me, it's like, okay, if Todd Bowley knew that he didn't want Tuchel as manager, why didn't he just sack him when he first arrived? You just wasted time, money, and effort on a team that if you knew you didn't want the manager there, you should have just sacked him, because I feel like Tuchel wasn't really given a chance. He signed a couple players right before the transfer window closed, and then you guys sack him after his first loss in the group stage. And this doesn't mean that because they've lost to Dinamo Zagreb that they're not going to advance throughout the Champions League. It's a loss. They have to go back to the drawing board and learn. Now you're bringing in a new coach who has no Champions League experience. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. If Todd Bowley knew he didn't want Tuchel, he should have sacked him when he first got there. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, they just fired their recruitment, the head of recruitment on Monday. He was relieved. Yeah.
Week.
This is how I find out through the Athletic the podcast for Chelsea. It's really good, actually.
So you find out from them and not from Alex Goldberg?
No. I forget I even follow the guy, but anyways, whatever.
I feel like Todd Bowley is playing FIFA manager career with Chelsea right now, because
that's a good analogy.
he's calling all the shots. Like, I don't want you here. You're not my guy. Just leave. Like, that's not how you do things in football, though.
Well, apparently all the players that they signed, they weren't Tuchel, but Tuchel didn't really have any say with any of the players that they bought. None of them. Like, based on like Simon Johnson and his crew were saying, like all those guys, like he had some input on like the players coming. The only player that he had input on was Aubameyang. Aubameyang was
Yeah.
his guy because he wanted to reunite with him, and Aubameyang came because he wanted to play for Tuchel. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, now that's no longer the case. So,
Well, you know, Bowley took he was basically the guy for the negotiations with all his new signings.
yeah, so maybe they had this idea. I think I don't know. I we'll see what happens. I have heard that it's not just his decision. He's had backing support to make these decisions. Like they were mutual based on the club. I do like this new manager that they got. Apparently, he's based on what I've heard. He is very attack minded, and Potter has done really well with Brighton. It is going to be a step up. I absolutely agree. But when you look on the other side and you say, hey, Simone Inzaghi got a chance with Inter, maybe a guy like Potter, and apparently he has a strong resume of like coaching for a while. Maybe the jump up is now for him, right? And he takes the opportunity and he goes. So I can't criticize Potter because I don't watch a lot of Brighton. I can only go based on reviews, and it sounds like he is an up and coming manager. That seems pretty exciting. Sometimes change is good. Maybe going to somebody who you don't really know with a new idea instead of going to Zidane again, instead of going to Pochettino, who really he's a good manager, but I don't think he would want it. I know Pochettino and Zidane were linked. Does Zidane really fit the bill there? Does Pochettino really want to go when he coached Tottenham? Like, does he do that kind of like turning over everything he achieved and the relationship and the rivalry there? You know what I mean? So I think this probably was like what he had to. Again, Bowley, I don't know. I don't know anything about Tom Bowley, but we'll see how it goes down the line. But it doesn't matter who goes in. It's not like they don't have a good team to take over. The team is sufficient. It's not like you're going to like Lazio or something and say, "Hey, I'm taking over this team." Like you're taking over a 5-star team who invested a lot, has a lot of young talent, has a lot of veterans. There's something there you can quickly kind of create, and I think that well, it is another month till they play Milan, but maybe the teams in the Champions League group maybe are unfortunate now because you also have to think maybe change turns the tide, you know what I mean? And it reinvigorates all the players and a new life. If you stick with Tuchel any longer, does it get any worse? You know what I mean? Like I know you're saying you stick with him. I absolutely agree. I think they did long enough where each game didn't get better. And I also think the last straw for him was what he did with Conte. I really think that the board did not like that. I'm a believer that didn't look good. It doesn't look good on the club. It doesn't look good on him. Like you snapped for something really stupid. You know what I mean? Because the guy didn't look in your eyes. He shook your hand and he walked away. Who cares if when does
It's about respect, man.
it is, yeah, but when do people shake hands and look at each other? Come on, man. It's in the moment.
I guess they usually do if he was thrown off by that one.
I don't know, man. I shake the hand, you go. You know what I mean? The respect is the handshake. You know what I mean? Like look what Hakan did the other on Saturday. He didn't shake Teo's hand and he walked by him. Where's the respect there?
Theo had a reaction to that though.
Oh, absolutely. Good.
Yeah.
He slapped him in the head.
With Tuchel.
Yeah, but hold on.
Honestly,
hold on.
In that case, I can understand both guys not necessarily wanting to shake anyone's hand and being upset at each other.
But he didn't. It's not like he didn't look in his eyes though. It's the fact that he didn't shake his hand. That's the difference. You know what I mean? You could have shook his hand and not look at him in respect. But again, like at the end of the day, Tuchel. You know what? coaches have their timeline. It's very rare you find coaches at a team for 20 years,
Yeah,
10
the era
years.
of Sir Alex Ferguson is long gone.
Yeah, like look at the guy in the NFL, Jeff Fisher. Man, when was the last time a guy like that in the NFL coach
Yeah,
for
well,
as long as
and
he
the funny
did?
thing,
You know what
he
I
was
mean?
around for a long time in Tennessee, and then he became a bum. Like Jeff
Yeah.
Fisher was a bum at the end of his coaching career. He was
Yeah.
coaching the Rams, and the guy was a joke at the end of his career.
Yeah, man. Like Pochettino should never have left Tottenham for me. I think he should have stayed. There's certain places where it's meant for you to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like sometimes change is hard, man. Like because you've established something that's so good that it's hard to repeat. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Chelsea. I think that when they play Milan, I think that's going to be a very entertaining match. That group's wide open. Even though Chelsea lost their first game, I think they'll turn it around. I just don't see them.
They're too talented not to.
Yeah, there's just too much talent on that team not to finish top two.
Yeah,
it's just one game. I wouldn't like try to like jump over teams like Lazio. I know I'm going back to Lazio. Teams like Lazio need to win their first game because they're not deep as these teams. They can't afford to lose a game and then all of a sudden hope to like play catch up. You know what I mean? Like you want to win your games now, whereas Chelsea, Milan can lose a game, tie a game, and can afford to go into the next game because I think they're much deeper. You know what I mean? So you never want to lose, but when you look at the squad depths, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can look at it like that too, right? So could be wrong, but
well, we will wrap it up for the evening, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. To see Eduardo got in here, better late than never. Hello, our guy Serie A podcast for the fans has been awesome. He's been prolific in the chat today. De Putra, thank you so much for hopping in. Anthony, thank you so much for hopping in. My guy Brooklyn Rob, who Jerry, can you throw out one swear word for Brooklyn Rob?
Oh, well,
no, he loves it when you swear.
I'm religious now.
Fair enough. If you don't want, Brooklyn Rob needs to understand. Jerry has turned over a new leaf.
I try not to swear as much, man. I find that it's just like
I don't swear as much either.
Oh, we can go off topic for a second.
Oh, so I'm trying to go to bed, you mother.
Listen.
What do you got?
We just released our new chip this week, and I want to hear from you guys if this.
Okay. I like this off topic. Okay.
If this would interest you.
Yeah.
Ruffles KFC.
What is it, like original recipe flavor?
Yes.
Spice?
So it's the original recipe. Would you eat it?
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
I'd give it a try.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, my buddy Dan Saporito on Twitter. You probably see him. He's a Juve fan.
Yeah.
He gave it a 4.2 out of 5. He said it was too salty, but
I don't mind salty. I'd probably be okay with that.
Yeah, we also have pizza Cheetos that came out today.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's called innovation. It's a way to like intrigue people to buy something different, and it's all incremental sales. But yeah, it's KFC. Let me just get the actual.
And tell me if I can find those in the States, because it seems like Canada, they
limited edition stuff.
They run the world potato chip game. Like when I'm walking down the aisle in my United States grocery store, there's like 5 different flavors of chips. In Canada, there's like 500. It looks awesome.
Colonel's a genius. Okay,
he is.
These guys and their ideas of how they create stuff, man. I don't know. Freaking yeah.
I love the self-deprecation here. He says, "Watch my podcast to help you sleep." You'd probably keep me awake, man. I'd probably enjoy your content. And let me give Miguel. Miguel, you want to plug social media? Any sort of projects you have going on? Let the people know where they can find you.
No projects as of now, but stay tuned for the World Cup. I think I'll make a comeback on some projects for that. But just go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Miguel Agyei 29.
I love it. Jerry, you working on anything? I know you were telling us you're doing some writing today.
Yeah, I'm writing up on the game. That's it. I did a piece over the weekend. Been doing TFC reporting as well, like with Miguel, how he does the Chicago. I forgot what the Chicago
Fire.
Fire. That's it. I think both of our teams are shit.
How'd you forget? We beat you.
When did you guys beat us? Earlier in the year?
When you guys came in June.
I wasn't. Was I? Oh, I probably wasn't watching the game. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's MLS. It's okay.
Fair enough.
No disrespect. Like
None taken at all.
But yeah, it's been okay. It's fun. It's not.
Awesome.
It's not Serie A, but yeah, it's not bad. And also today in the game, the announcer pissed me the F off, man. He kept on saying Husai's name wrong. He kept on calling Haisa.
Oh, I heard. I noticed that too.
Did you
I
notice
can't
that?
remember how he said it. It was way off. Way off.
Haisa. You call him Haisa?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? It was it drove me nuts. I wanted to throw my TV. Oh, I was gonna pissed me the F off, man. That's all I can say. But all right, guys. Everybody, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Just remember, Roma lost to a bunch of Bulgarian farmers today.
Oh my God! And I thought it's freaking. And listen, I don't do a whole lot of banter because it can be thrown back in your face. Where some of these Roma fans on social media, they banter Napoli so much. Napoli crushes Liverpool. They're off to a good start in Serie A, of course. They crushed Liverpool yesterday. And then Roma goes out there and shits the bed today. And so it's like all that trash talk you guys do, it's being thrown back in your face.
I'm going to call up my buddy Chris because he said yesterday that
Chris is the worst of them. Like Chris, I don't think Chris ever has a thought running through his head that doesn't involve how much he loves Roma. It's like the guy is he's a fanatic.
I'm gonna call him up because he said yesterday that Tammy would have finished the chance that Victor Osimhen missed at the spot. Did he score today?
God.
Did he score today against Ludogorets? He's in the Europa League, the lower class.
For the record, Osimhen's penalty shot wasn't bad. It was the run-up that messed everything up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know why people do. He think he was Jorginho.
Alisson Becker barely saved that. He only saved it because of the run-up. It wasn't fast enough.
Well, it's funny how Lazio and Napoli are the only winners, and they were the two teams that played each other over the weekend.
Oh,
I thought that was pretty funny.
Maybe they intentionally saved their energy, like they both agreed. Let's play 60% so we can save our legs for Europe this week.
I just thought it was pretty funny, like a coincidence. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Well, we appreciate everyone. We will talk for Jerry, for Miguel. I'm Alex. We'll talk to you guys again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.